Welcome back, everybody. My name is Token D Rock here with another video. It is Monday, April 25th, 2:06 p.m. The overall crypto market cap is sitting right around $1.85 trillion. Bitcoin dominance has climbed a little bit up to 41.3%. ETH dominance sitting at 19.4%. Bitcoin did take a beating the past few days with talks about the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates across the board, stuff like that. Bitcoin is below $40,000 right now, as we can see. Ethereum sitting at just under $3,000. BNB sitting right around $400. Solana below 100. Luna did go, I believe, as low as $87. It has rebounded a little bit since then. Overall, crypto market cap has come down a considerable amount in the past few days, but we are starting to recover, so that is good. So it is Monday, and to stick to tradition, we do have some Bitcoin stowed away on our Celsius account. We opened that Celsius account last January, and as long as you had your Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever the digital asset is, as long as you had it on the platform before, I believe, April 15th it was, you can still earn rewards on the crypto that you have on that account prior to that date. So you can see I've earned roughly $5 worth of Bitcoin for the past week, and we've earned roughly $4.50 worth of ETH for the past week, just holding on that platform, doing nothing. At my bank account, I'm earning a whole whopping 0.05% on the money I have, and even then, probably losing money because realistically speaking, all my money goes to bills, and if it's not going to bills, it's going into investing. And so I'm not holding a certain amount of dollars in my bank account. They actually charged me a $6 fee, which is rather bogus, but nonetheless, I'm showing you guys you can earn some juicy interest over on Celsius if you had your assets in there prior to April 15th. If not, we'll get back to that later. As we can see, Bitcoin has lost some lines of support. First big line of support that it dropped in the past 24 hours, so to speak, was 39,500. So you can see the bulls fought tooth and nail to keep Bitcoin's price above that line, but ultimately failed, and we dropped below 39,300. We found no support there and actually just fell all the way down to 39,000, roughly speaking. Bulls, again, tried to hold the line. The bears ultimately drew this down to 38,200. I actually saw this pretty much in live time. I was debating on whether or not to buy some Bitcoin, Ethereum, Luna, etc. The list goes on. I will get back into what I bought here the past 24 hours later on in the video. So you can see we did trade between this range between 38,200 and 38,600 for a few hours. Bulls drove up the price above 38,600 towards 38,900, regained that level as well, back above 39,300. As we can see in the past hour, Bitcoin did go on a mini rally up to 40,350, roughly speaking, and it has found support right around 39,800. Again, we will see if this holds or not. Taking a look at the bigger picture on the 1 hour chart, we can see that Bitcoin did wick roughly to levels we were seeing just 3 days ago towards the beginning of the weekend, depending on where you are in the world and when you're watching the stream. But it looks like it's not going to hold. But again, looking at the bigger picture, we can see Bitcoin didn't just wick outside of this trend line. We have a whole candle or two outside of this trend line, so it kind of negates this whole trend line. We'll see if Bitcoin further negates this trend line or not, or if it starts validating it once again. Again, need to reiterate, you guys, we can see some downside movement in the market here in the short term. Concerns over the interest rates going up thanks to the Federal Reserve. Too little, too late, if you ask me, but nonetheless, if we get some more fear in the market, we will be retesting these lines of support. No questions asked. I mean, it's just fears and concerns over supply chain issues, inflation concerns, stuff like that. The Fed really starts kicking up interest rates. It's going to send the markets tumbling, because you can see past few days, even with the Fed announcing that it may do a 50 basis points hike increase for the month of May, markets reacted pretty negatively to that. So if we get something even just a bit worse than that, could we see the markets tumble even further? I think that's totally in the cards, but need to take a look at Wyckoff, you guys. I think this is more or less what we've been seeing right about here. There's that first high, that second high that equals roughly the same as the first. Then we get some sort of breakout, which is what we're seeing potentially right now. The problem is we started going back down to these previous lines of support that we were visiting roughly a month and a half ago, or even almost 2 months ago in some of these cases. So overall, I think we're on the uptrend, so to speak. I think Bitcoin will, for the most part, hold this trend line, if not this trend line, via Wix or something like that, but time will tell. To get into the main focus of this video, Fed's Chairman Powell, half-point hike in view, completes hawkish pivot. On April 21st, a half-point interest rate increase will be on the table when the Federal Reserve meets between May 3rd and May 4th to approve the next in what is expected to be a series of rate increases for this year. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said Thursday in comments that pointed out to an aggressive set of Fed actions ahead. With inflation running roughly 3 times the Fed's 2% target, it is appropriate to be moving a little more quickly, Powell said in discussion of the global economy at the meetings of the International Monetary Fund. 50 basis points will be on the table for the May meeting, and likely his last public remarks before the Fed's next section. Powell also said he felt investors currently anticipating a series of half-point hikes were reacting appropriately, generally speaking, to the Fed's emerging fight against rising prices. His comments appeared to pin down an expected rate path much steeper than projected at the Fed's March meeting, when policymakers at the meeting anticipated the target overnight federal funds rate would be increased to 1.9% by year's end. Traders and contracts linked to overnight federal funds rate currently expect the Fed to increase it to a range between 2.75 and 3% by then, a pace that would involve half-point hikes at 3 upcoming meetings and quarter-point increases at the year's 3 other sessions. That would take the Fed's target rate beyond the neutral level and into territory that would begin to restrict economic activity, marking one of the fastest turnarounds of U.S. monetary policy. In addition, the Fed is expected to begin reducing its asset holdings in a step that will further tighten credit conditions for businesses. Potential speed of the Fed's action has led economists to warn a recession may now be more likely if business and households cut back spending more than anticipated as borrowing costs rise, or stock and other asset prices drop in value and eat into household wealth. I would put the probability that we enter into recession over the next 12 months about 1 in 3, and that is rising. Moody's and Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi said earlier Thursday at a session on inflation that Powell had addressed. So just a recap, essentially, Jerome Powell says there is 50 basis points rate hike. It's possibly in the cards for the month of May. They're saying potentially that investors across the board have pretty much priced this into the assets they're invested into, whether it be stocks, bonds, crypto, etc. But they were looking potentially to only raise interest rate by roughly 1.9% by the year end, but they're looking at potentially 2.75% or 3% by the end of the year, which is pretty drastic change considering 1.9% to 2.75% is something like a 150% increase, and going to 3% is looking nearly at a 170% increase. So not too good. And if they continue with this rhetoric that interest rates are going to go up, well, the market investors will act accordingly. We will see massive sell-offs, whether it come to bonds, stocks, crypto, etc. Overall, assets are going to suffer across the board for the most part. Just thought I would bring the Fed's meeting into today's discussion because I thought that was rather important and it affected how crypto and other markets reacted here in the past few days. In other news, Twitter and Elon Musk have reached a deal. This is pretty big stuff, you guys. Elon Musk, for about a week now, has been tweeting about the potentiality of him owning Twitter and to make it a bastion of free speech where people from all around the world can partake on a social media platform that does not censor anyone in particular, within reason, of course. A lot of people are speculating that this may bring a particular previous president back onto the social media site. In other news, we have Russian forces striking railway stations in Ukraine following U.S. officials' visit to the country. According to Ukrainian authorities, at least 5 train stations in central and western Ukraine have come under fire, with casualties reported. According to the head of Ukraine's railways, the BBC reports, Monday, Russia's defense ministry announced a ceasefire around the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol to allow humanitarian evacuations. Following meeting with President Zelensky in Kyiv on Sunday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russia is failing in its war aims. Whole thing with Ukraine, Russia, NATO, it's rather messy. It's very hard to cover accurately because it's very hard to discern whether certain parts of media we're receiving or stuff like that is just propaganda or outright false narratives. So we don't talk about this a whole lot on this channel just because there is a lot of room for error. Again, with Elon Musk buying Twitter and reaching agreement with Twitter, there's people concerned about, again, former President Donald Trump hopping back onto the Twitter space, spreading fake news or misinformation as some people deem it. I'm not crazy about the guy. I did vote for him once, but I do recognize that he does do a lot more harm than he does good in a lot of aspects. So whether Elon Musk's intention is to bring 45 back on, I don't know. It would be interesting. I do think it is interesting how all these big corporations and even people in our government did kind of coordinate around the same time to take particular man off of social media. For better or for worse, I don't think it was for the right call. The way they should have gone about it should have been way different, but that's just me. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Do you guys like that Elon Musk is buying Twitter? Do you dislike it? I mean, Rob Reiner over on Twitter says now that Elon Musk is buying Twitter, the question for all of us is, will he allow a criminal who uses platform to lie and spread disinformation to try overthrow the U.S. government to return and continue criminal activity? And if he does, how do we combat it? Again, there are people out here that are a bit more radical with their beliefs on what exactly Mr. 45 tried to do on January 6th. Some of us believe it was an insurrection. Some of us compare it to this generation's Pearl Harbor, this generation's 9/11. I think that's a bit of reach personally, but you are entitled to your own opinion. But Rob Reiner, like many other people on this platform, and I think it's rather interesting that a lot of people that are complaining about Elon Musk buying Twitter, they're like, oh, we can't just have this rich person own, a social media site. It's not going to be about freedom of speech, blah blah blah. It's all a fake, it's all a cover up. He's not actually for freedom of speech. Meanwhile, just a few months ago, or even the past year or two, those same people were like, yeah, these billionaires are suppressing people I don't agree with. It's like, what do you want? Do you really believe all the things you are saying and espousing on the internet, or are you just, for the current thing, so to speak? And again, with the current thing, you guys, the after school channel over on YouTube put out, I do like this because this kind of ties into freedom of speech and how some people are like, oh, but you don't want people getting offended on the internet, blah, blah, blah. Right here it says the values of self-determination, autonomy have been increasingly overridden by a message that stresses weakness. And if vulnerability is indeed the defining feature of the human condition, it follows that being fearful is the normal state. The state, as of late, has been telling you need to isolate, you need to protect yourself. You might be a danger to other people if you don't take a particular medical procedure, etc. You can't partake in certain activities, social functions, unless you take X, Y, and Z medical procedure. This way of life promotes mental illness and paves the way for authoritarian rule. Again, just skipping ahead through the video, the desire for safety stands against every great and noble enterprise. This sounds kind of silly, but there's a lot of truth to these statements. Historically, the most prosperous societies were orientated towards experimentation and the taking of risks instead of avoiding them. Again, skipping ahead, you guys, it seems a bit silly, but look at the imagery. It's telling you everything you need to know. Like, look at this. You want what's in the box? You want freedom? Well, you give X, Y, and Z up and you'll get freedom. To be more safe, they at length become willing to run the risk of being less free. It's very ironic that the country of, freedom loving individuals is actually one of the ones that is actually the most complacent and barely notices the overreach from whichever direction it's coming from, whether it's the left or the right, politics. A man who has nothing which he is willing to fight for, nothing which he cares more about than his personal safety, is a miserable creature who has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself. Relieving people of the burden of freedom in order to make them feel safe is a recurring theme in the history of authoritarianism. Again, you guys, not trying to get too into it, but there is a group of people out there that are telling you that you are a danger to society unless you take X, Y, and Z medical procedure, and the buck doesn't stop there. The goalpost doesn't stop there. You're gonna need another one. You're gonna need another medical procedure. It's like, when does this end? And it's like, it ends when we collectively want it to. That's the truth. So just thought I would put that out there. I do think there is a possibility that Bitcoin does spring up past this line of overhead resistance that we experienced just 3 weeks ago, but there is inevitably a possibility that we do go down to $33,000 Bitcoin, maybe put in a double bottom and then rally, or maybe that's just a stop on the way down to $30,000 or $25,000 Bitcoin. Who knows? I certainly don't. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Are you guys bullish, bearish about Bitcoin and crypto as a whole? What do you guys think? Do you think governments are doing everything in people's best interest? Do you think governments have been overreaching with C-19 and mandates and things of that nature? Again, let me know down below in the comments section. We're in this together. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you're watching it over on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I go live next. Got some links down below. If you'd like to check them out, please do. You can get trading and earn some crypto while you still can over on Voyager. With my link, you just deposit $100, get trading with that $100, and within a few weeks time you get $25 free Bitcoin. Yours truly does too. It's a win-win situation. If you'd like to stay up to date with crypto prices, check out CoinMarketCap. Got CoinMarketCap for your favorite altcoin events and news, stuff like that. You can also get trading over on Binance. Deposit $100, trade with that $100, get 10 free USD. Nice little incentive there. Here in the US, if you still do not have BlockFi's Bitcoin Visa Signature Rewards card, go sign up for it down below in the description box. Every purchase with this card gets you 3% back in Bitcoin. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but every Satoshi, we're talking hundreds, thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Satoshis, will add up in the long run, you guys. A lot of people are still largely in the dark about supply chain issues, inflation, etc. So get ahead of the curve and sign up with this card and start stacking Bitcoin. Just need to tell you guys, after those first 3 months, the 3% does dwindle down to 1.5%. But again, every Satoshi is going to count here on forward. So I will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the changing world order, Ray Dalio's half-hour video over on YouTube. Gonna break it down into pieces, make you guys understand it a bit more. But yeah, until then, take care, invest wisely. I'll see you tomorrow.